Close your eyes for a moment and imagine what your life would feel like if you truly believed deep within the quiet sanctuary of your being that you are already the best, that no one is better than you, and that you were never meant to measure yourself against another soul. Not in arrogance, not in comparison, but in remembrance, in truth, in the deep knowing that the life breathing through you is the same life breathing through the stars. What if acting as if you are the best is not about elevating yourself above others, but about stepping out of the smallness that the ego has taught you to accept? What if it is about reclaiming your original nature before the labels, before the criticism, before the endless measuring and competing and proving? You were not born comparing yourself. A newborn does not apologize for its cry. It does not ask whether another infant cries more beautifully. It simply expresses life. Acting as if you are the best is an act of spiritual defiance against a world that has hypnotized you into believing you are less. The ego whispers, "Be better than them." Spirit gently says, "You are already whole." The ego thrives on hierarchy, on first place and last place, on superior and inferior. But spirit knows nothing of these illusions. Spirit only knows expression. Just as the oak tree does not compete with the rose, and the ocean does not envy the sky, you were never designed to compare your magnificence to another's. When you squeeze an orange juice comes out. Not apple juice, not grape juice. Whatever is inside must come out when pressure is applied. And so when life squeezes you through rejection, failure, criticism, what comes out? If what emerges is fear, resentment, jealousy, then that is what has been stored within. But if what flows out is confidence, compassion, and an unwavering sense of worth, then you are living from the awareness that you are already the best expression of the divine in the form that is you. Act as if you are the best, not because you need applause, but because you understand that the source that created galaxies chose to express itself uniquely as you. There has never been another combination of consciousness, experience, perspective, and possibility exactly like this one. And there never will be again. That alone makes you incomparable. But the ego resists this truth. It says, "Who do you think you are?" And I invite you to answer that question boldly. Who do you think you are? Are you merely a body accumulating achievements? Are you a resume, a bank account, a reflection in someone else's approval? Or are you a spiritual being having a temporary human experience, here to remember your magnificence? Acting as if you are the best means walking into a room without shrinking. It means speaking your truth without apology. It means creating without waiting for permission. It means loving without fear of rejection. It means understanding that your value does not fluctuate based on external outcomes. The sky does not become less vast because a storm passes through it. The sky remains the sky. Thoughts, emotions, and circumstances are like clouds. They move, they shift, they appear and disappear. But the awareness behind them, the infinite, observing presence that you are, remains untouched. When you identify with the clouds, you feel small and temporary. When you identify with the sky, you feel expansive and eternal. Act as if you are the sky. So often, we have been conditioned to dim our light in order to make others comfortable. We have been taught that humility means self-doubt, that confidence is arrogance, that shining too brightly will cause discomfort. But true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. It is knowing your greatness and not needing to announce it. It is understanding that your brilliance does not threaten others, it illuminates the path for them. When you act as if you are the best, you give others silent permission to do the same. You become a mirror reflecting back to them their own forgotten power. And in that reflection, something extraordinary happens. Competition dissolves. Comparison fades. The illusion of separation softens. What remains is mutual elevation. The ego says, there is not enough success, not enough love, not enough recognition. But the spiritual truth is abundance. The ocean does not worry about running out of water. The sun does not ration its light. Nature does not compete, it expresses. If you truly understood that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence, how would you walk? How would you speak? How would you choose? You would no longer hesitate at the threshold of your dreams. You would no longer ask, am I good enough? You would ask, how can I serve from this greatness within me? Because acting as if you are the best is not about domination, it is about contribution. The ego seeks validation. The soul seeks expression. The ego fears judgment. The soul knows it is beyond judgment. The ego compares timelines and achievements. The soul exists outside of time altogether. You have spent years listening to voices that told you who you are supposed to be. Parents, teachers, society, culture, all projecting their own fears and limitations onto your infinite canvas. And somewhere along the way, you began to believe them. You began to shrink. You began to doubt. You began to live as if you were less than. But you are not here to live as if you are less. You are here to awaken. Imagine a lion raised among sheep. If it never sees its reflection, it may learn to bleat. It may learn to move timidly. It may accept a life of limitation. But the moment it glimpses its true nature, everything changes. It does not need to prove it is a lion. It simply remembers. You are remembering. Acting as if you are the best is a form of remembrance. It is a daily practice of aligning with the truth that your essence is divine. It is waking up and declaring, I am not my fears. I am not my past. I am not the opinions of others. I am a living expression of infinite potential. I am. Those two words carry extraordinary power. When you say, I am confident, you activate confidence. When you say, I am worthy, you align with worthiness. But when you say, I am not enough, you begin to create experiences that mirror that belief. The universe responds not to your wishes, but to your identity. Act as if you are the best because you understand that identity shapes destiny. When you walk into a challenge believing you are inferior, you contract. Your energy shrinks. Your creativity narrows. But when you walk in as if you are the best, not in comparison, but in conviction, you expand. Your mind opens. Solutions appear. Opportunities align. Not because you forced them, but because you vibrated differently. Energy does not lie. If you see yourself as small, the world reflects smallness back to you. If you see yourself as powerful, the world rearranges itself to meet that power. This is not mysticism, it is alignment. You attract what you are, not what you want. So become the version of yourself who already knows. Let go of the need to outperform. Let go of the need to dominate. Acting as if you are the best is not about being better than anyone. It is about being fully yourself, and no one can do that better than you. The oak tree does not wake up wishing to be a willow. The river does not envy the mountain. Each fulfills its nature completely, and in doing so, contributes to the harmony of the whole. When you abandon comparison, you liberate your energy. When you release envy, you reclaim your focus. When you stop measuring your journey against another's timeline, you step into peace. There are no justified resentments. If you resent someone's success, it is because you have forgotten your own. If you resent someone's confidence, it is because you have doubted your own. Forgiveness becomes essential not just of others, but of yourself, forever believing you were less. Forgive yourself for shrinking. Forgive yourself for playing small. Forgive yourself for seeking approval instead of alignment. And then rise. Rise into the awareness that you are a miracle, not metaphorically, literally. The odds of your existence are beyond comprehension. The intelligence orchestrating your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, it is the same intelligence that spins planets and bursts stars. Act as if you are the best, because the same power that creates universes creates through you. Imagine what your life would look like if you no longer feared being seen, if you no longer diluted your voice, if you no longer edited your dreams to fit other people's comfort zones. You would create boldly. You would love deeply. You would forgive quickly. You would move with certainty. Certainty not because you control outcomes, but because you trust your essence. The ego clings to control. It wants guarantees. It wants validation. It wants applause. But the soul is content with authenticity. The soul knows that fulfillment does not come from being superior. It comes from being aligned. And alignment is freedom. When you are aligned with your highest self, you no longer chase. You attract. You no longer prove. You express. You no longer compare. You create. Act as if you are the best because you understand that being your fullest self is your greatest service to the world. There is someone watching you right now, perhaps a child, perhaps a friend, perhaps a stranger, learning from your example. When you diminish yourself, you teach them to do the same. When you stand confidently in your truth, you teach them courage. Confidence rooted in spirit is unshakable because it is not dependent on outcome. You can fail publicly and still remain whole. You can be criticized and still remain centered. You can lose and still remain complete, because your worth is not negotiable. It was established at your birth, and it will not diminish at your death. It is intrinsic, inherent, infinite. Act as if you are the best, not to elevate yourself above others, but to dissolve the illusion that anyone could ever be beneath you or above you. We are waves in the same ocean. Some rise higher for a moment, some crash earlier, but all are water. When you understand this, jealousy becomes absurd, competition becomes unnecessary, fear becomes optional. You are not here to win against others. You are here to awaken within yourself. And awakening begins with identity. Say to yourself now, quietly but powerfully, I am enough, I am capable, I am divine. I am the best expression of life in this form. Feel the resistance. That resistance is the ego clinging to its story of limitation. Breathe through it. Let it dissolve. Replace it with truth. You do not need to wait for evidence to believe in yourself. Belief creates the evidence. Act as if you are the best today. Walk differently. Speak differently. Think differently. Not arrogantly, not aggressively, but intentionally. Look people in the eye. Hold your posture. Share your ideas. Take the step. Trust that the universe supports those who support themselves. You were never meant to live in the shadow of your own doubt. You were meant to shine, not for applause, but for alignment. Not to outshine others, but to illuminate possibility. The sun does not ask permission to rise. It rises because that is its nature. It is your nature to expand. So expand beyond fear. Expand beyond comparison. Expand beyond the ego's desperate need to rank and measure. Act as if you are the best, and no one is better than you. Because in the deepest spiritual sense, there is no better. There is only being. There is only expression. There is only the infinite intelligence experiencing itself as you. And when you fully embrace that truth, you will no longer strive to be superior. You will simply strive to be authentic. And authenticity is unstoppable. You are not here to compete. You are here to complete the unique design that only you can fulfill. When you do that, when you stand fully in your divine identity, something miraculous happens. You become free. Free from envy, free from insecurity, free from the exhausting race to be more than someone else, free to simply be the magnificent expression of life that you already are. And in that freedom, you will discover a quiet, unshakable joy. A joy not tied to achievement, but to alignment. Not tied to praise, but to presence. Act as if you are the best, not because you are above anyone, but because you have remembered who you are. And when you remember, the world changes. And when the world changes, it does not always change outside of you first. It changes within the quiet architecture of your perception. The mountains may still stand where they stood yesterday. The challenges may still appear at your doorstep. The same names may show up on your phone. But something within you has shifted, and because of that shift, everything begins to rearrange itself around your new awareness. You begin to notice that what once intimidated you now invites you. What once triggered you now teaches you. What once felt like opposition now feels like orchestration. And you realize that life has not been testing you, it has been refining you. It has been shaping your consciousness so that you could finally see yourself clearly. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with recognizing your own greatness. It is not a burden, but a calling. When you know you are powerful, you must choose how that power is expressed. You can use it to defend an illusion, or you can use it to embody love. You can use it to build walls, or you can use it to build bridges. True mastery is not found in control over others, but in stewardship over your own inner world. Consider this: the external world is a mirror, not a source. If you find chaos outside, search for turbulence within. If you encounter disrespect, ask where you have withheld respect from yourself. If you experience limitation, inquire into the beliefs you have unconsciously accepted. This is not about blame, it is about authorship. When you accept that you are the author of your inner state, you reclaim the pen, and from that place, you write differently. You begin to script your life not from fear of what might happen, but from faith in who you are becoming. You stop asking, what if I fail, and start asking, what if I expand? You release the old narrative that said your worth was conditional, and you begin living as though your existence itself is the qualification. There is an intelligence moving through you right now, organizing your thoughts, guiding your impulses, whispering subtle nudges toward growth. It does not shout, it does not force, it simply invites. The more you trust it, the louder it becomes, not in volume, but in clarity. It feels like a calm certainty that does not need explanation. Have you noticed how the most profound truths do not argue? They simply resonate. When you encounter something aligned with your soul, you feel it. There is a quiet expansion in your chest, a stillness in your mind, a recognition without effort. That is the voice of your higher self affirming, yes, this is who you are. Living as though you are unparalleled does not isolate you, it connects you more deeply. Because when you no longer seek validation, you can genuinely celebrate others. When your identity is secure, someone else's brilliance becomes inspiring rather than threatening. You see their success as evidence of possibility, not as a comparison point. And something beautiful unfolds. The energy you once spent competing becomes creative fuel. The energy you once invested in self-doubt becomes momentum. The energy you once drained through resentment becomes compassion. You start to understand that abundance is not something you acquire, it is something you align with. When you see yourself as a channel rather than a container, life flows through you effortlessly. Ideas come, opportunities appear, connections form, not because you chased them, but because your vibration invited them. There is a profound difference between striving and allowing. Striving is rooted in the belief that you are lacking. Allowing is rooted in the knowing that you are aligned. When you act from alignment, action feels inspired rather than forced. You move with grace instead of strain. Think of a dancer who is completely immersed in the music. There is no self-consciousness, no mental calculation. There is only flow. The dancer is not trying to prove skill. The dance is expressing itself through the dancer. This is what it feels like to live from your highest awareness. Life begins to move through you with elegance. But to reach that state, you must be willing to release the old masks. The mask of perfectionism, the mask of people-pleasing, the mask of indifference. Each mask was once a strategy for survival. Each one served a purpose. But you are no longer surviving, you are awakening. And awakening requires honesty. Where have you been pretending? Where have you silenced your intuition to maintain comfort? Where have you accepted less than your truth because it felt safer? These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to liberate you. Because the moment you stop pretending, you reclaim energy. The moment you stop negotiating your worth, you reclaim dignity. The moment you stop outsourcing your identity, you reclaim sovereignty. Sovereignty is the understanding that your inner state belongs to you. No circumstance can dictate it without your consent. No person can diminish it unless you agree. When you know this, you walk differently. There is a steadiness in your presence, a groundedness that does not sway with external approval. This steadiness does not mean you will never feel doubt again. It means doubt will no longer define you. It may visit, but it will not reside. You will observe it, thank it for its outdated attempt to protect you, and gently return to your center. And what is your center? It is the awareness that you are a spiritual being, temporarily navigating form. Your body changes, your roles evolve, your circumstances fluctuate. But the essence, observing all of it, remains unchanged. Spend time with that essence. Sit in silence and feel the aliveness beneath your thoughts. Notice the space between breaths. Sense the presence that exists before a word forms in your mind. That presence is who you truly are. From that space, action becomes intentional. Words become measured. Reactions soften into responses. You no longer operate on autopilot. You operate from awareness. And awareness is power. Not power over others, but power over perception. When you master perception, you master experience. You understand that events themselves are neutral. It is the meaning you assign to them that shapes your reality. If someone criticizes you, you can interpret it as proof of inadequacy, or you can interpret it as information. If a door closes, you can label it rejection, or you can see it as redirection. The external event is the same. The inner interpretation determines the outcome. Acting as though you are unmatched means choosing interpretations that reinforce your inherent value. It means refusing to internalize narratives that shrink you. It means remembering that your identity is not up for negotiation. There is a quiet courage required to live this way. It is the courage to be misunderstood, the courage to stand alone when necessary, the courage to trust your inner compass even when the crowd moves in another direction. But solitude does not mean isolation. When you align with your authentic self, you begin to attract relationships that resonate with your frequency. Conversations become deeper. Connections become more meaningful. You no longer bond over complaint. You bond over growth. And gradually, you realize that the world you once sought to impress becomes the world you are here to inspire. Inspiration is not about performance. It is about embodiment. When you embody self-respect, others feel it. When you embody clarity, confusion dissipates around you. When you embody peace, conflict loses its grip. You become a stabilizing force, not because you impose control, but because you radiate coherence. Your inner harmony influences the field around you. Imagine if every individual embraced this awareness. If each person recognized their own irreplaceable value and acted from that knowing, comparison would lose its grip on humanity. We would stop climbing over one another in pursuit of approval and begin lifting one another in recognition of shared divinity. And it begins with you, not tomorrow, not when you achieve something, not when someone finally validates you, now in this breath, in this decision to see yourself clearly. Stand in front of a mirror and look into your own eyes. Beyond the features, beyond the history, beyond the stories. Look into the consciousness looking back at you. That consciousness is ancient. It has traveled through experiences, learned through lifetimes of lessons, gathered wisdom through joy and pain alike. Honor it. Treat it as sacred. Because when you honor yourself, you teach the world how to honor you. When you carry yourself with quiet certainty, you no longer need to demand respect. It arises naturally. When you speak from authenticity, your words carry weight. When you act from integrity, trust follows. You begin to see that the life you desire is not something you chase, it is something you become aligned with. Opportunities are drawn to congruence. Success is drawn to clarity. Love is drawn to wholeness. Wholeness does not mean flawlessness. It means embracing every aspect of yourself with compassion. It means integrating your shadows rather than denying them. It means understanding that your mistakes were teachers, not verdicts. Nothing you have experienced has reduced your value. It has only deepened your awareness. The detours refined you. The heartbreak softened you. The challenges strengthened you. All of it prepared you to stand here now with a deeper understanding of who you are. And who you are is not accidental. You are intention embodied. You are possibility in motion. You are consciousness exploring its own potential. So walk forward with the quiet conviction that you are irreplaceable, not superior, not inferior, simply unique beyond comparison. Let your actions reflect your knowing. Let your choices mirror your worth. Let your presence communicate your certainty. And when doubt attempts to return, meet it with compassion. Remind yourself gently, I am not here to compete, I am here to express. I am not here to dominate, I am here to contribute. I am not here to measure myself against another wave in the ocean. I am here to rise fully as the wave I was born to be. As you continue this journey, remember that the greatest transformation is not external achievement, but internal alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions harmonize with your deepest truth, life begins to feel effortless. Not because obstacles disappear, but because resistance dissolves. And in that state, you do not need to declare that you are the best. You simply live in a way that makes it undeniable. And so you continue, not as someone striving to become worthy, but as someone who has finally recognized that worth was never absent. The journey ahead is not about acquisition, it is about embodiment. It is about allowing what has always been within you to step forward without obstruction. There is a moment in every awakening where you realize that the cage you felt confined by had no lock. The door was never sealed. It was held shut by belief, by inherited narratives, by unconscious agreements, by the quiet assumption that you were smaller than your longing. And once you see that, once you place your hand on that door and gently push, the entire structure dissolves. Freedom was never outside. It was a decision. And decisions shape destiny far more than circumstances ever could. When you act from the inner knowing that you are incomparable, your relationship with fear changes. Fear no longer becomes a stop sign. It becomes a signal. It signals expansion. It signals growth. It signals that you are standing at the edge of your old identity, preparing to step into a wider version of yourself. The ego trembles at this edge. It prefers the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. It whispers, "Stay here, at least you know this discomfort." But your higher awareness gently encourages, "Move forward. There is more of you waiting." And so you move, not recklessly, not arrogantly, but deliberately. You begin to notice that confidence is not loud. It does not need to dominate conversations or command attention. True confidence is quiet. It is a grounded presence that does not flinch in the face of challenge. It listens deeply. It responds thoughtfully. It stands firmly without aggression. This kind of confidence is born from self-trust. Self-trust is cultivated in small, consistent acts of alignment. It grows each time you honor your intuition. Each time you say no when your inner voice says no. Each time you say yes when your spirit says yes. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small. Gradually, an inner solidity forms. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop outsourcing your decisions to external approval. You realize that the guidance you have been seeking has always been whispering from within. There is a sacred rhythm to your life that no one else can hear as clearly as you can. When you slow down enough to listen, you sense it. It is subtle, but unmistakable. It guides you toward experiences that expand you and away from those that contract you. Acting as if you are the best means honoring that rhythm, even when it does not align with the expectations of others.